your journey into the heart and soul of Greece. And now, member-supported Hellenic Public Radio Cosmos FM 91.5, a bilingual Greek-American radio program coming to you every day through WNYE 91.5 FM. From the Demetrius and Georgia Kaloidis Broadcasting Studios to the greater New York area and worldwide through cosmosfm.org. Our programs air Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 p.m., Saturdays from noon to 3:30 p.m., and Sunday mornings from 9 to 1:30 p.m.
Δεν θέλω άλλο την καραμπίνα.
Απ' τα πολλά που μου έχεις καμωμένα, δεν σε θέλω πια, δεν σε θέλω πια. Τα σοφικά μου να έχεις μαυρισμένα, δεν σε θέλω πια, δεν σε θέλω πια. Δεν μ' αρέσουν πλέον τα γυνάκια, δεν μπορώ τα δυο γλυκά σου μάτια. Παίζω και γελώ κι όλο τραγουδώ, μα Κατερίνα πως δεν σε θέλω πια. Γιατί περνάς και όλο λες με θέλεις, δεν σε θέλω πια, δεν σε θέλω πια. Το ίδιο το έχω αν ζεις κι αν αποθάνεις, δεν σε θέλω πια, δεν σε θέλω πια. Δεν μ' αρέσουν πλέον τα γυνάτια, δεν μπορώ τα δυο γλυκά σου μάτια. Παίζω και γελώ κι όλο τραγουδώ, μα Κατερίνα πως δεν σε θέλω πια.
Και ο κορονοϊός να πάει αλλού.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Counterpoint on 91.5 Cosmos FM, broadcasting live through WNYE. This is your host, Aggeliki, and I'm here with my lovely co-producer.
Katerina. Hello, everyone.
And today we have a special guest, Dr. Calliope Callias, PhD. Hi, Calliope.
Hello.
And Calliope is a clinical psychologist. She has her own private practice in New York City, and she specializes in anxiety and stress, as well as relationship issues. And she's going to talk to us about how we should cope with this crisis that we're living through, right after these announcements.
Ενημέρωση, πολιτισμός, ψυχαγωγία. Cosmos FM.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Counterpoint. I'm really excited to have Calliope on. She's not only an expert in these important psychological issues, but she's also a member of our choir, the Pacific Earth Choir. So we love her very much, and we're very happy that she's here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Calliope.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so tell us what
Where do we start, right? Where do we
I know.
start?
Where to
Yes.
start? It's such a crazy time that we're living.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's really interesting from a psychological perspective to analyze the effect of this quarantine on people staying at home, on people working at hospitals, and there's so many different levels to it, I'm sure.
Exactly. There's so many levels, so many aspects of this, right? So many aspects, this pandemic, that it has changed our lives maybe forever. We don't know. We'll see, right?
Wow.
There's and most of these changes were very drastic. We started with the worrying about our health and the health of our loved ones. But then so abruptly, we entered this financial almost collapse, right, of the system, this recession, that may be a depression. And in every level, as you said before, Katerina, right? And all, our work, our family, our social environment, everything we were doing before, our entertainment, our wellness, our exercise, everything changed in
And
like
it
a
was
matter
so
of week. Sorry.
right, and it was so unexpected, right? We never thought it was going to come to this extent.
Exactly. And of course, the medical and the hospital system completely overwhelmed with no real space or time for other issues. The tremendous uncertainty about our present and our futures. So how long will this last? No one knows. How will our lives be when it's over? How will each of us be when it's over? We have no idea, right?
Yeah, those are very big questions, and we can't even begin to get through,
Well, yes, they are. And I know that I may have sounded here, but putting it all out there, maybe some people would feel overwhelmed, but that does not have to be the way that we handle this. This is the reality, and we need to face the reality. We cannot hide from it. But the way we're going to respond to this reality, not react, but respond to this reality, that's up to us in some level. Not that we have so much control, but we do have some control, for sure. And we're going to talk about that.
That's very
Awesome.
true. And Katerina and I touched on, we talked a little bit in a previous episode about how, all of this is so unexpected and so out of our control. But actually, there are a few things we could do by ourselves to feel like we're kind of doing something.
In control of some aspects of our lives. Yeah. And I think that's important and to remember, even after this is over, to face reality and not avoid it, which is a common issue for a lot of people, I think, with anxiety and stress, avoiding problems.
Exactly. And this is so major what you're saying, because yes, a lot of people, unfortunately, because they don't know any other way, they tend to either deny the situation and just pretend that they're okay, or they get panicky. And neither of the two ends is good. So we have lots to talk about, of course, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to cover today, but we'll see.
We just listened to a traditional balos performed by 100 violins, featuring Greek musicians that came together online, actually, during this quarantine to create this. And
that was so beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, something positive came out of this quarantine, and that's how creative people are becoming.
Yes, I believe that lots of positive things will come out of this. That doesn't mean that we're not going to go through very difficult times, and we are going, and we may go even more. We don't know. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to have pain, that we're not going to encounter pain and all kinds of other difficult emotions, which we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But through all of that, there's always the sun. Okay.
The silver lining.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
You know, before we begin, I'd like to say that because of the we don't have that much time, we won't have. I'm not going to talk about really what the medical field and the first responders are going through, because what they, for the most part, the ones that are right there in the hospitals these days and everywhere else, trying to keep us safe and save us, they are overwhelmed in so many different ways, and so they're experiencing probably a lot more than the rest of us are experiencing. So I don't want to touch upon it, because I really believe we need a special show for that, at least.
Yeah.
Not only to
Absolutely.
pay tribute to them, but also to see if we can really express compassion and gratefulness in different ways that we all need to do.
Thank you, medical
but
workers.
I'm not going to touch this, right? I'm not going to touch it because it is a big issue and it really requires its own time. Okay, so I'm going to refer mostly to what the rest of us are experiencing.
Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. There's very important work being done out there. And today we're just focusing on the psychological aspects of it. What are some, I guess, helpful coping tips for our listeners?
Yes, before I go to that, if it's okay, I'd like to just name a little bit the feelings that most of us are going to encounter or are feeling these days, so that we're all aware that we may be feeling it, even if we don't know that we feel it, okay? So there's continuous worry about our health and the health of our loved ones. And this is going to be with us for a while. And until we get, we find the vaccines or the treatments and all of that. There's a missing and grieving for the temporary or permanent losses of people we care about, right? We can't see many people, or we cannot relate the same way we're relating, or some of us have lost people permanently. So there's going to be a period of grief, and we can grieve in different ways. It's another big issue, but we need to have it in mind that grief and loss, it's going to be part of it.
Yeah,
we're going to be grieving our life as they were before. 2 months ago, our lives were so different.
That's
so
true.
That's there, whether we speak about it, whether we're aware of it, it's there in all of us somewhere and in the environment.
And it manifests in everyone in different ways, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Also, worry and even panic about our jobs, our professions, our finances, right? Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's happening right now. As is also, missing hugging and touching, which is so significant. So significant. We know touch is so important. There's so much research that shows that how through touching we release this hormone, oxytocin or neuropeptide, and that hormone is responsible for our well-being, physical and emotional. So it's a huge issue that now we are not allowed to touch the way we're touching.
I miss hugging. I
And
think us Greeks miss that even more. We're so we hug each other so much and kiss and embrace, and
I agree. It's taken a toll on me too. That the only thing I can hug right now is my blanket. So
exactly.
And your cat. I wish I had a pet.
We'll talk about it later in the how-tos, how to help ourselves, okay? So then there's, of course, a longing for our normal ways of living, right? Our various environments, our places of work and entertainment. We're all locked down in our houses, most of us anyway. There are feelings of loneliness, and especially for people who live alone. But not only. We may experience feelings of loneliness even if we are with others. And also relationship challenges due to the long quarantine. Right? We hear that unfortunately there's an increase in domestic violence, which is horrible. But a lot of issues around that, and how people handle, doing all the schoolwork from home, the stressors that parents experiencing on top of having to work at home. It can create a lot of stress and a lot of relationship difficulties. And then, of course, the fatigue and even exhaustion from all the new behaviors, right? We needed to adapt to, from cleaning all the time ourselves and our environments, to constantly being in front of a screen for any connection we need to have, to homeschooling and working from home and more. So just wanted to give, like, really for people to really sense that all of that is there for all of us in some way or another.
And that it's normal. Like, you don't have to deny it if you're feeling this way.
I think it's important to acknowledge those feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, and just because nothing comes, ουδέν κακόν αμυγές καλού, there are also some positive things that are happening and experiences that people have due to the quarantine, which is like relief from the usual stressors. Maybe your boss was getting to you. Now you don't have to see the boss very often. Okay? Maybe online it creates that necessary distance, right? Or enjoying people or things you never had time to do before. Governor Cuomo told us the other day that he enjoyed and felt that he now is beginning to know his daughters better.
Yeah, that's one thing I can identify with too. That's one great positive thing.
Right, and other people, picked up hobbies that they always wanted to do, or they organized their house better, their gardens. Also, this grand pause offers time for reflection and reevaluation of our life goals and purpose. Right? We can use this adversity as an opportunity to make necessary changes and to grow in some dimension, personally or professionally, or socially in other ways, even socially, because online so much is happening these days.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. All our life is online, right?
Yep.
It feels like that anyway. Yeah.
Thank God for technology.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have internet right now.
So maybe when we come back, we can talk about how to, the psychological, emotional first aid, as I'll call it. Okay?
Yes.
Sounds
Let's
good.
do that after the music.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας μια σταγόνα. Μα αν ενωθούμε όλοι σε έναν αγώνα.
Ήταν μια μέρα κι αυτή σαν τις προηγούμενες. Ένιωθες πως δεν σε χωρούσε το σπίτι που μένες. Μέσα δεμένεις γιατί χάνεσαι σε σκέψεις. Θέλεις να βγεις, να παίξεις, να τρέξεις και να δουλέψεις. Κι ήρθε η μέρα τελειώματα του Φλεβάρι, που τα πρώτα συμπτώματα τα πήραμε χαμπάρι. Η χώρα που έχει μάθει να γκρινιάζει με καμάρι θα ξυπνάει στον μπορεί και θα κοιμάται στο μακάρι. Οι μέρες πέρασαν και φέρανε τα τέρατα. Μοιάζουνε χωριά τα κράτη που ήταν τετραπέρατα. Μου λέγαν θα έρθουν τα χειρότερα κι εγώ αμφέβαλα. Ερήμωσαν τα θέατρα και σώπασαν τα πέταλα. Φανάρια άχαρα τα λένε με την άσφαλτο. Κοίτα πως έχασε το θρόνο του το Σάββατο. Απλώθηκε σιωπή και πεθυμίσαμε τον μπάχαλο. Ας μάθουμε να βλέπουμε τον πόνο μας σαν δάσκαλο. Πρέπει να μάθουμε κι εμείς απ' τους γερόλικους που φύγαν απ' την πόλη τους να σώσουν τους υπόλοιπους. Είναι παππούδες και γιαγιάδες που είναι μόνες τους. Σκεφτήκαν τους επόμενους και δώσαν τους αγώνες τους. Η φύση το φωνάζει να τα ακούς, δεν είμαστε άτρωτοι. Πίσω από εικόνες και αριθμούς υπάρχουν άνθρωποι. Πια δεν έχουμε άλοθη να τρώμε από τις άρκες μας. Γι' αυτό και τις φοράμε μπας και πέσουνε οι μάσκες μας. Με το χειμώνα μίλησα και μου πεξένε. Φέτος θα καθίσω πιο πολύ, συνήθισέ με. Η άνοιξη είναι άρρωστη, δεν μπορεί να μιλήσει. Αλλά μου είπε να σου πω ότι θα έρθει, απλά θα αργήσει. Ένας εχθρός που δεν βλέπει σύνορα και όρια. Παλίκαρι στον Εύρο και ταλέποροι στη Μόρια. Είμαστε δίπλα σ' όποιον νιώθει την απώλεια. Και η μουσική μας είναι η ελπίδα σε εμβόλια.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας μια σταγόνα.
Τόσο μικρή μα τόσο σημαντική.
Μα αν ενωθούμε όλοι σε έναν αγώνα,
θα φτιάξουμε μαζί μια θάλασσα μαγική.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας ένα κομμάτι.
Από κομμάτια απαρτίζονται τα σύνολα. Κι όταν ο καθένας από μας θα κάνει κάτι, τότε θα γινόμαστε λίγο καλύτεροι στα δύσκολα. Ανοίγουμε τις πόρτες μας εν μέσω καραντίνας. Τόσοι ξένοι μαζεμένοι που μοιάζουμε μεταξύ μας. Από το σπίτι στην αυλή μας και ο καθένας τα δικά του. Μα σε ποιον ανήκει τι αυτή την ώρα του θανάτου. Μαθάμε πρόθυμα να ζούμε στη διχόνοια. Πόσο ακρίβει είναι μια βόλτα στην Ομόνια. Τώρα που κλείσαν τα μπαρ και τα εστιατόρια, πόσο διαφέρουνε τα νότια απ' τα βόρεια. Ένας ιός στην ελπίδα μου δεν θα φτύρει. Της έμαθα να ζει πάνω στη σάρτα στο γιοφύρι. Το αύριο θα σπείρει αφού θέρισε τη μνήμη. Είναι ο άνθρωπος που ένωσε πίστη και επιστήμη. Για τη γενιά μου που δεν πίστευε ποτέ της πως θα βρεθεί στο δρόμο της ένας καλός ηγέτης. Το σώμα μου κρατούμενο, η σκέψη μου δραπέτης. Και της είπα άμα δεις την άνοιξη τραγούδισέ της. Ένα τραγούδι που έχει λόγια τρυφερά. Καλό κουράγιο αδερφέ ντελιβερά. Άντε σιγά σιγά να ξαναμπούμε σε σειρά. Και να μάθουμε να βλέπουμε τα πάντα καθαρά. Για την κυρία Μαρία που κάθεται στο ταμείο. Αμείβεται για έναν μα εργάζεται για δύο. Για τον Νίκο το γιατρό που δεν λέει να καταρρεύσει. Δεν αγκάλιασε την κόρη του για να την προστατεύσει. Για την Νίκη που δουλεύει νοσηλεύτρια. Που παλεύει να μην είναι η ήττα ολέθρια. Κι αλήθεια θεραπεύτηκα και χάρηκα όταν είδα πως τη φαρμακοποιό της γειτονιάς τη λένε ελπίδα. Είναι ήρωες μεγάλοι και αφανείς που ονόματα και πρόσωπα δεν θυμάται κανείς. Μα εκείνοι είμαστε εμείς και εμείς είμαστε εκείνοι. Κι ο δυνατός θέλει κάποιος δύναμη να του δίνει. Κι όσο εκείνοι ξαναχτίζουνε τα τείχη, η άνοιξη είναι στο κρεβάτι της και ξεροβύχη. Η σκέψη μου πλησίασε, την έπιασα απ' τη μέση. Κι όσο της τραγουδούσε έδειχνε να της αρέσει. Τώρα τη βλέπω μαζεμένη στο κρεβάτι. Της είπα για να έρθεις μήπως μπορώ να κάνω κάτι. Μου έκλεισε το μάτι και μου είπε για να προλάβει. Θέλει μια ελιά, ένα μπέλι και ένα καράβι.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας μια σταγόνα.
Τόσο μικρή μα τόσο σημαντική.
Μα αν ενωθούμε όλοι σε έναν αγώνα,
θα φτιάξουμε μαζί μια θάλασσα μαγική.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας ένα κομμάτι.
Από κομμάτια απαρτίζονται τα σύνολα. Κι όταν ο καθένας από μας θα κάνει κάτι, τότε θα γινόμαστε λίγο καλύτεροι στα δύσκολα.
Είναι ο καθένας από μας μια σταγόνα. Μα αν ενωθούμε όλοι σε έναν αγώνα, είναι ο καθένας από μας ένα κομμάτι.
Για κοίτα μας πως γίναμε καλύτεροι στα δύσκολα.
Welcome back. This is Counterpoint, broadcasting live through WNYE on 91.5 Cosmos FM. We just listened to the song Stagones by Chimera Music featuring Rosie. And we are here with Dr. Calliope Callias. And she's talking to us about all the feelings that we've been going through during this quarantine or that could come up during this time. And we're going to go on to talk a little bit about how we deal with those feelings, right? The first aid of psychology.
Yes. Yes. So there's plenty of things that we can do, which is actually the positive side of all that. And I would say maybe the first and most important, although all of them are important, is to really pay attention to our feelings, which we said before, really pay attention and try to feel them, not, as we said before, not deny them and not allow the feelings to really take over where we become overwhelmed. Okay, so all of this being scared, worry, feelings of grief, longing, feeling lonely, overwhelmed even at times, or angry and desperate are normal feelings that we may all experience at different times during this period. Just acknowledge that they're there and speak with people. So the most important thing about feelings is to not to suppress them, but to express them in a constructive way and do something about them in a constructive way. And the number one thing we have is really talk about them with people who can understand and can validate us, who are probably sharing similar feelings, because this touches us all. There's no one that escapes from this. So how we express our feelings is very important. We don't want to allow them to become really overwhelming. So, and if they become, we should not hesitate to ask for professional help.
Exactly. That's so important. Yeah.
Yes, psychologists these days and any mental health professional, we're all working online. So you can find very easily psychological support. And please, please, please do not keep it to yourself. Reach out for help.
So you're saying
it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. So you're saying it's important not to bottle things in, not to suppress them, right? And to reach out to people, right? And
exactly.
Because especially now we're all going through the same thing. We all go through emotional ups and downs, right? I think that's part of life. But what are some red flags or signs that should tell us it's time to do something and seek professional help?
I mean, I think everyone should go to therapy, but Calliope can tell us more.
Yes. Well, of course I'm biased, but I do also agree with you, Katerina, that most of us will benefit from going at some point in our lives to a therapist, not because there's something wrong with us really, but because we can learn more about ourselves. And the more we learn about ourselves, the easier it becomes to deal with stressors. And like this one is an extreme stressful situation, but in general, stresses for our life. So to answer to your question, Aggeliki, well, when we feel that the anxiety, some anxiety is normal, as we said, for everyone, and all of these other feelings, but when it becomes overwhelming, when we find that by sharing or by crying one time or two or more, but that we don't really get relief, and we start having symptoms of either withdrawing or can't stop crying, or we can't sleep nights after nights. We're not talking about just here and there, or become really, really depressed. And sometimes, of course, the person who becomes depressed may not be able to see that. Yeah. So then we all need to watch about the friends we know or the family we see that they may either withdrawing or are unreasonably silent, or they are angry, very angry, like really where they can't control themselves or they can't control their feelings. These are signs that really professional help is needed. And also what's important is if the anxiety becomes again overwhelming, the depression or anxiety, whenever it's really overwhelming, an overwhelming feeling that we cannot control, this is the time to ask for professional help.
For sure. So let's continue on a more optimistic note with the rest of the aid tips for coping with the situation.
Right. So that we don't become, anxious at that level or depression. What are the preventive measures, right, that we have? How can we help ourselves that in our everyday life? Mm-hmm. So we spoke about the emotions and the importance of really being aware of them and express them in a constructive way and speak with others. One thing we didn't talk about is really how important it is to be compassionate with ourselves and others at these times. Like people saying, I'm going to work and create this project now that we're in quarantine, and they feel all this pressure, and like a month passes and they don't do it. And they can become angry with themselves that they're not productive, and they don't understand that, all of what we're experiencing is really so stressful that it can exhaust us, as we said earlier, and we may not have that energy. So we need to be compassionate with ourselves and what we're asking ourselves to be doing during this time. As we need to be compassionate with others, right? And not assume that everybody's going to experience this in the same situation, in the same way, and with the same feelings.
That's so true. And I think if you're not feeling well on a personal level and you're going against yourself because you're not as productive as you think you should be, then that affects also the way you interact with other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think there was a big wave of messages, especially on social media, like a big wave of, in the beginning when the quarantine started here in New York, at least, that, oh, now it's time to do all those things that you've been wanting, blah, 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 blah. And I think that message, yeah, it might be sometimes inspiring, but in this case, I think it actually worked in the opposite way, to cause some anxiety or disappointment from yourself when you're not able to be productive.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like Calliope said earlier, we're spending so much energy just adapting and adjusting to the new schedule and the new lifestyle, and we might not realize that, we're exhausted just by doing that. So that, yeah, that's important to bring up.
Exactly. So all of that. So just really, really being mindful of how we are and how other people are, and compassionate. Also, see if we can connect with feeling grateful and paying attention to the little things we have in our lives, that we're alive, first of all, that we can breathe. Very small things that we took for granted before, right? This is an opportunity for us to acknowledge and understand the importance of being grateful and feeling grateful and noticing all the things we have and who we are, right? From the sun that's shining to every little thing. We have a bed, or we are able to eat. Small things are so important. And the more we value them and feel it inside, feel the gratefulness inside, the better we'll be. Will really help us through this situation.
Yeah, it's the small things that can make a big difference in my entire mood sometimes. Like even just getting some flowers, it will just transform.
Exactly. If we come out of this quarantine, even just having learned that, if we have learned that we'll be so much richer inside.
I agree. Because it's human nature to take things for granted. And I think, yeah, that's one of the lessons we can learn from this.
I used to do that more when I was younger. Remember that book, Pollyanna? The game where she was trying to find like everyday little things to be happy about or to be grateful about. I think we need to return to doing more of that, especially in New York. It's such a fast pace, and sometimes days go by without you even noticing, what's going on, or looking at the sky, or looking at, the trees and the flowers. And it's spring in New York, but we're not really experiencing it, but it's...
So notice the flower, right? Notice the flower. Notice the petals. Notice the color.
Yes,
notice
smell the roses.
The shape. Yeah, I was going to say the smell, but unfortunately not many flowers smell around here.
That's true.
We're not in Greece, Metis Nerans, yes.
Imagine it.
One season, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, another, of course, everybody speaks about that, and it's important, and that's why everybody speaks about it, is socializing, right? We call it social distancing, and it's a wrong term. It should have been physical distance. Physical distance does not have to be social distancing. Okay, we and everybody's saying it, and we really need to do it. We need to make an effort to keep in touch with all the people that we care, even make new friends. online. And there's so many ways nowadays. You don't need me to tell you so much that's online. We can find groups online. Groups are very powerful for this kind of for these moments. Groups and communities, and there's so many groups and communities online that we can join, and we can have connections with.
I love that. Physical distance doesn't have to be social distance.
Yes.
And if you can't find a group to fit with your hobbies, start a new one. It's so easy nowadays.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, I would say use humor. And one thing I loved when this whole one thing that really helped me in the beginning, especially of this quarantine time, was receiving all those GIFs and videos, funny videos, whether they were from Greece or from here, about quarantine, about the situation. It's amazing that how much talent is out there, or how much we discover. And humor is such a stress releaser, such a wonderful tool or a gift that life has given us. Really,
it really makes everything better if you can laugh at laugh at things.
We'll be right back with Aggeliki and Dr. Callias after this news.
Κόσμος FM, το ελληνικό κοινοφελές ραδιόφωνο.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Aggeliki and Dr. Calliope Callias, and we've been talking about and learning about some of the really great ways to cope emotionally during this public health crisis. We mentioned that some of the things that you could try is to pay closer attention to your feelings and express them in a constructive way, really speak about them in a constructive way with the people around you or with a professional. Be compassionate with ourselves and others and grateful for the little things. And yeah, let's talk about some more of the things that we can do.
Yes, sure. And we also talked about, the importance of socializing over the internet or whatever, this beautiful way that we have now. Take advantage
it's not social
of that.
distancing, it's physical distancing.
Physical distancing, right. And so the next thing I want to talk about is really about taking care of our body. Now, from a psychologist to say about taking care of our body, but it's so significant because it really is helping our mental health.
Nusi and somati like we say in Greece.
Exactly. So starting from the little things of especially if we're home, taking care of ourselves, we're not just being with our pajamas in front of the of the machines, of the computers, having meetings, but really dress up. It is going to help your mental health. Dress up, really look good. I put perfume today.
I do the same thing.
Really?
And
I'm going to try that.
Me, but it makes me feel good. Yes, maybe you don't smell it, but it makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So there's little things, but it is so important. Then, of course, move in any way. Walk around. Exercise in any way. It doesn't have to be anything difficult. There's so many videos online, or you just can walk inside your apartment or outside. Now the weather is getting better. Just walk outside as much as you can. You can still be safe, but walk and really moving. It absorbs, our body absorbs stress, and moving releases stress. So our bodies, we know that we say in psychology that our bodies keep the score of all the negativity that we experience. of course, it keeps the score of the good things, but a lot of the negatives are really stored in our bodies. So we need physical release in whatever form we can. The other thing is what we started talking about earlier is about touch, right? So we know now from a lot of research that just by bringing our hands to our heart, touching ourselves, can be very, very soothing. When we feel either good feelings or difficult feelings, just you can try it right now as we speak and see how it feels. It changes us.
I've been doing more meditation lately. I was always saying that I want to do it, but now I'm actually doing more of it. And part of some of the sessions that I've been trying, at some point throughout the process, that's what people, what the instructors will say, like place one hand on your heart, and it does feel really good.
Yes.
And I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about feeling grateful for our body and feeling grateful that we can still breathe. You know, putting your hand on your heart, I think, does that.
Yes. There's
That's
a lot
where
of
your
things.
heart is, Aggeliki.
Yes.
We're not together, everybody. We're just FaceTiming.
So exactly. So just bringing our hands or caressing ourselves and hugging ourselves. It's very important. Again, it will release oxytocin, the hormone the hormone of love, it's called. Also breathing exercises. I think one of you mentioned breathing, right? Whether you're doing yoga, but they're just breathing exercises you can find online, or just breathe. Take a couple of seconds, and notice your breath. Take a deep breath, but mindfully, and exhale. Exhalation. We forget to exhale.
It sounds
very,
simple,
very important.
But we forget to do that. Exactly. Thank you for mentioning that.
It's a great tip, and it's great for if you're a starter with meditation. It's a great way to focus your mind. Just focusing on your breath in and out.
Exactly. But just breathe. Just focusing on breath alone can do miracles. And then I want to say about the importance of drinking a lot of water, staying, not allow ourselves to dehydrate, and eat nutritious meals as much as we can. Okay, that's about the body.
Awesome. Anything else that we should remember of?
Yes, sure. Another very important part of this is like to really what will help us, what can help us is to be of service and offer joy. Okay.
Love that.
We don't, we don't need to stay alone, and that will deepen our loneliness. The social recession. We don't need to be in a social recession. So the antidote to loneliness is service. So please try to help others. Find your friends that may need you. Call people that you know they live alone. Find your neighbors, older neighbors that may need something from you, and offer your help with joy and smile. Smile as much as you can. Receive the smile to your heart and give smiles.
Perfect. It's hard. That. It's hard in public with the masks, but it's.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about
You know what?
that.
Like Tyra Banks says, smile through your eyes.
Exactly. But the eyes are showing it. Yes, exactly that.
Perfect.
This is so true.
Είναι τα παράθυρα της ψυχής.
Exactly. Thank you.
For those of us who may need professional help, are there any resources you'd like to share? Yes,
of course. There's plenty of help out there. First of all, you could try to find a psychotherapist. There are plenty. You can find them online. As I said before, everybody's working online these days. So it's going to be easy to find. You can go to major directors like Psychology Today and find a therapist that way. Or you can use some helplines. There's the Office of Mental Health, New York State's Emotional Support Helpline. And I'll give you that number. 844-863-9314. And if the situation is really an emergency, you can always call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-9314. 8255.
Thank you so much.
And of course, you can always reach out to our very own Calliope Callias. On her website, you can find all the information. www.calliope, that's with 2 L's, Calliope, Callias, Callias, PhD.com.
So these were some ways that we have and we know are working for stressful times. There are a lot more, of course, that we did not have time to discuss here. And there are going to be a lot more that we're going to learn as we go through this pandemic. I believe in creativity. We humans are amazingly creative and adaptive. Just look at all these beautiful songs we played in the show that were created during this time. Music, right? Another wonderful avenue to help us through. So the most important thing is not to despair. As so many people are saying, and it's so true, we're all in this together. It's hard and it can get harder, but we are not alone. The whole world is going through this. So please, please, please do not try to get through this alone. Reach out to people, talk and listen. Share your difficulties and help each other. Right? If it gets too overwhelming, then reach out to professionals. There's help. We're all struggling in one way or the other, and we're going to get through this. And I want to finish with just a line from Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. So just please share, talk and listen to each other and to nature. Thank you.
That was beautiful and very true. Dr. Calliope Callias, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us on this Counterpoint episode.
Thank you very much for having me. Be
Thank
safe,
you, Calliope.
everyone.
Take care.
And thank you to all our listeners, and stay hydrated, everyone. Water or wine, I think they're interchangeable at this time.
I didn't say that. I didn't say wine. Okay.
That's just us, but that's just our advice, not Calliope's. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.